Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today. I hope you're all doing absolutely excellent as we're sitting down to talk about the state of play for September 24th, 2024. We got a lot of updates on previously announced games, and one in particular, massive reveal in Ghost of Yotei. We're going to talk about all of it, but these videos are designed to save you time, so let's not delay any further and get into what was shown off at this state of play, because there's about over 30 minutes of content to go through. For starters, we got to look at Astrobot once more. I thought this was a really cool gesture to have them open up the show, because you think of like your God of Wars, Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon, like these big players in the exclusive space, and it was neat to see something like Astrobot open things up, announce some speedrun levels that you can save 10 new Astrobots. One is from Stellar Blade, one is actually from the Helldivers game, so I really thought that was cool to see, and that there's a free add-on arriving this fall. So that was pretty nice to see. I just wrapped up Astrobot. I'm getting the Platinum either tonight or tomorrow when I get a little bit of extra time, and I'm looking forward to finishing it up because I've absolutely loved the game, and I'm excited to see how they evolve it going further, because I think they're a bit of movement tech away from being on that Mario level, but certainly they're on the road, and I cannot wait to see what the next Astrobot game does. After this, we saw a really unique game in the Midnight Walk. Love the moody voiceover for this trailer, but they highlighted in the trailer that this game was handcrafted with clay, and that makes it really set apart from the rest of the games industry, because it's a very unique approach on how you can tackle things here. Kind of had a horror vibe to it. I didn't really get a feel for truly what the actual game was, but in terms of like atmosphere and feel, I was digging what they were doing here. And so initially I'm feeling kind of good opening up this state of play. I'm like, okay, this is really unique. This is different. Continuing on, we see Hell Is Us, which I kind of define as like Death Stranding meets Souls-like, almost meets horror, meets post-apocalyptic. It's one of those games I call a genre blender, a atmosphere blender. You just see all the inspirations in different pockets. Like I think a Stellar Blade is one of those games, and those games excite me quite a bit heading into their launch because you can just feel all the creative energy coming out of them. So I thought Hell Is Us looked pretty good. There's no release date, unfortunately, or window. It's just kind of like a wish list announcement, but it does look really good. After this, though, is where we start to kind of see the roller coaster ride begin. I felt like this showcase was a pretty strong representation of the last few weeks that PlayStation has had between like Concord and then Astrobot and then PS5 Pro, which is up and down, up and down. And this is the latest in a up and down saga, if you will, because then we move into things like Metro Awakening, which I think looks really good. I just know there's not a lot of excitement for VR games. Metro Awakening is releasing November 7th, 2024. As someone who wasn't too crazy about Exodus and the above ground gameplay, I love seeing a VR title focus on kind of the scarier parts of Metro. I think that fits really well, and I personally want to check this one out. I think there's a lot of interesting looking VR games coming out in Arkham Shadow and Metro Awakening that I want to keep my eye on because I think they're easy to sleep on, but I get that these aren't the most exciting things that you're sitting down to check out at a state of play. Afterwards, we see Arcade Chronicles. The opening to this trailer is extremely Witcher coded, like shot for shot almost. It reminded me just of the Witcher 3 reveal trailer, but it's action combat. It's got multiplayer elements. It's kind of Monster Hunter coded, and it's coming 2025. It looks pretty solid to me, but not like a get out of my seat type of announcement. But you know who got out of their seat for this next one was Nintendo. They went, wait. We're suing you. What's going on here? Palworld. Here we go. It's out on PlayStation 5 today. It's no longer exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem or PC, so you can go ahead and play it on PS5. Now, for me, when I played it at launch, I thought it was interesting as an idea and as a concept, but many of you already know this, but for those who don't, I'm not a big early access guy, so for me, it's just dipping my toe in the pool, seeing what's going on here, and then I move on until it's in that 1.0 state and it's relatively finished and getting what they would call post-launch support. So that's kind of where I'm at with Palworld, where I thought the ideas were there, but some of the mechanics just weren't working in my favor. Like when I was trying to put all my monsters to work and they were getting upset or angry, even though they shouldn't have been getting upset or angry. It was just like, all right, it's getting a little frustrating now. This was also a showcase that was very much kind of like a Nintendo Direct, where you have those announcements for particular groups of people, and for those who get that announcement, it really lands for them, but for the majority, like 95%, they're not going to really care about that sort of announcement, and that's where Lunar Remastered Collection comes in. This is arriving spring 2025, and as a big JRPG fan, I've not played these before. I'm very excited to check them out, and for me, anytime I see pixel art, I'm like, okay, I'm in. Like, you don't have to do anything else. I'm in. And so I want to check this one out because I saw a lot of people saying like, oh, this is my favorite RPG series. I thought the music that went alongside it was really beautiful. The very much 90s anime vibe to it as well was great. So I want to check this out just for the sake of understanding the history of my favorite genre really in gaming at this point. Afterwards, we got a very Matty announcement in Shredder's Revenge getting more DLC. The Radical Reptiles are joining, so there's new characters that you can play as. There's a remixed soundtrack that sounds really good, by the way, based on what they previewed there. And so, yeah, that's going to get played by me. And another Matty coded announcement is Fantasian Neo Dimension, which finally has a release date, December 5th, so right at the tail end of the year. This is unfortunate for me because I usually like to draw a little bit of a cutoff for myself because I usually go away in the middle of December till the beginning of January. Is a bit of a holiday break between this and Indiana Jones. They're kind of pushing me back in the year a little bit more. I'm like, come on, give me some room to, take a couple of days off, would you? But man, I'm so excited for this one. I need to play it to have it considered for my Game of the Year conversation because I think it looks absolutely excellent, having the creator of Final Fantasy behind it, Nobuo Uematsu doing the score for it. I just cannot wait. We just saw with Splintered Fate, a TMNT game that I absolutely adore, leaving the Apple Arcade game, that I'm not going to doubt these Apple Arcade games that leave that platform and come to consoles, because Splintered Fate being like my favorite Ninja Turtles game was not something I expected to be saying, but it's brilliant, and so I'm looking forward to playing Fantasian, which was formerly an Apple Arcade game. After this, we got to see Dragon Age The Veilguard, and I gotta be honest, like, as someone who played it for 6 hours, I really liked what I played, but I get where people are coming from with their disapproval of this game because I just don't think they're showing it well at all. This gameplay, I thought, was so unconvincing. It looked super mid, super jagged, and I think they did this section to show off the more cold, hardcore, blue part of the color palette rather than the purple they kind of get cooked up for. But I feel like they've shown enough. You probably, if you're BioWare, just want to go away at this point because I don't think you're going to change many people's minds. And I looked at this as someone who has played the game and went, I don't know. I don't know if this takes place during Act 1 or 2 personally based on what they showed there. But yeah, it wasn't a really convincing look at the game whatsoever. And so I kind of get where people are coming from if they haven't played it at all. Continuing on, we see Allan Wake 2. There's a new Lake House expansion dropping this October. I'm ashamed to admit I have not played Allan Wake 2 yet. That was one that I missed out on late last year, and so I'm going to try to right that wrong eventually, but I'm just really behind on the Remedyverse in general. Like, I haven't even played Control, but I know these are very much celebrated experiences in gaming. I'd like to check them out because I have liked Remedy's past work. Like, for example, I'm the weirdo who really liked Quantum Break. I also love the original Allan Wake as well, but yeah, I think they make good stuff. We also saw another VR game in Hitman VR. Again, I know VR doesn't light people's fire, but I really like, for example, you could just wash your hands in this game and get the blood off your hands, like how interactive it is. This was one of the first games I saw when it was announced for VR, where the gestures and the animations, I was really impressed by. But this is coming out in December, and I think it looks pretty good, so I might be getting cozy with my headset for a couple of these games here between Metro, Hitman, Arkham Shadow. Kind of interested in what VR is doing this fall season. After this announcement, we get the game that has been leaked a bunch of times before, Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remastered. This is coming from Aspire. It's on December 10th, so another December game like I was talking about earlier. But look, man, this is one I've been wanting to get to for a while. I have Soul Reaver 2 in my PS2 collection. I've heard amazing things about these games. I know this is Amy Hennig's like first writing gig, so I'm excited to check that out and just see how she grew as a writer into games like Uncharted. But also, like, I know this is such a celebrated franchise, and knowing how these things go, they're typically testing the waters to see like what's the interest here and can we justify a new entry in the franchise. And as we'll talk about later, this is not the only Legacy of Kain related announcement, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But this was an announcement that unfortunately leaked ahead of the show. I think it took a little bit of the wind out of the state of play because I know this is something that many people have been asking for a while, but nonetheless, it is real and coming out December 10th. Then we saw Fear the Spotlight. Didn't really get a good feel for this game other than it's inspired by PS1 horror titles. It's coming out October 22nd, so very soon, and I feel like they should have shown more for how soon it is releasing, so I don't know if that really builds confidence in me. Then we saw Towers of Agasba, which is allowing you to build villages, invite players to your island, kind of Animal Crossing goated, and this is releasing in early access in November, and you already heard my thoughts on early access, especially when it's about building villages. I'm good. I built a lot of settlements in Fallout 4, so I don't need to build anything else in gaming. After this, though, we got Lego Fortnite updates. There's a split screen update. There's a limited DualSense coming out that I'm sure people are going to scalp, no doubt about it. Then Dynasty Warriors Origins. Look, man, modern Muso games are just, I love them so much. I don't care what anyone says. I know they're a simple kind of game, but Dynasty Warriors Origins looks really sick. It's releasing January 17th, 2025. Just think the production values have been upped a lot. The combat looks a lot more cinematic and visceral, the way the camera's pulled in closely, the sound effects really adding to all those elements. The story seems like it's taking itself way more seriously. I'm wondering if they're taking, as Koei Tecmo, lessons from Neo and really packing them into this game here. Same thing with Wolong, and packing some of those lessons into this game here, because it does look a lot more serious and violent. I don't know. It just has a much more gritty feel to it, and I'm very excited to check this one out. So January 17th, I will be there. After this, finally, we get a release date for Monster Hunter Wilds, which is releasing February 28th, 2025. This is a bit of a, I would call it a story trailer, just because a lot of it was focused on the cinematics of the game and the characters and building up to this mythical creature they're trying to hunt or something like that. But yeah, it looked pretty good. Like, I will say this, that out of the Capcom series, I really enjoy Monster Hunter, but it's not my favorite. I was a little bit bummed to not see the rumored Resident Evil 9. I know that falls more to me and my own expectations, but I personally like Resident Evil way more than Monster Hunter, but I also am admittedly a flyby Monster Hunter fan. Like, I played a lot of Freedom Unite on my PSP, then I didn't really play it much until 3 Ultimate on 3DS. Moved on from that pretty quickly. World got its hooks into me. I played that for a long while, about 90 hours. Then Rise, I played a decent amount of. Really enjoyed that. And so here we are at Monster Hunter Wilds, and I'm curious if this game will get its hooks in me, so I'm going to keep an open mind for when this one rolls around. Then we got an announcement for Lego Horizon, which is releasing November 14th, 2024. I don't know if I'm really alone on this, but I've been on a big Lego game kick lately. Kind of excited for this one. Definitely more excited than the next Horizon announcement, which is Horizon Zero Dawn, and I'm putting this in air quotes, Remastered. They apparently re-recorded about 10 hours of conversations in the game to put it at the same level as Forbidden West. This releases on October 31st of this year, and you can upgrade to the PS5 version for $10. Now, looking through it in that window, not too bad. To me, it's less about the price tag and more about the practice here of PlayStation remastering games that I think look and play completely fine, in my personal opinion. And so when I see stuff like this, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it gets me really jaded, especially because it feels like PlayStation is really overestimating my adoration for Horizon. But between things happening in Astrobot, and then we have Lego Horizon, now a remaster, we have Forbidden West, there's rumors of that multiplayer game, there's rumors of like shows or movies or something like that. It feels like PlayStation thinks they got something really big here, and I'm curious if the audience feels the same way, because I feel like it's too much of a thing that I think is okay, but I could be wrong on that. I always leave the door open to being wrong. But yeah, I just think these PS5 level remasters absolutely suck. They're terrible, and I cannot stand that they exist and that PlayStation gets away with them, especially because now, at least with Last of Us, you could justify like, hey, it's happening with the show, it's business savvy. Now they're like, hey, we got away with that, like, let's go ahead and do this. And this was a horribly kept secret. It's been leaked for a while, so the reaction is going to be a little bit more dumbed down, but just knowing it exists, I'm just like, man, God, like, why? All right, anyway, Stellar Blade up next. It gets a photo mode. Its soundtrack is available for streaming services. I want to add this to my writing playlist, but I'm not going to, because I have to play Stellar Blade first and experience it as intended, because they have a Nier collab coming later this year, and oh man, like, that just pushed me over the edge. Like, I knew I wanted to play this at some point. I originally said I wanted to play it this summer because I was really jammed up with the reviews and content and launching Retro Rewind at the time of Stellar Blade launching, so I had to skip out on it, unfortunately. I was like, I'll get it in the summer. Naturally, the summer came and went, didn't do that. Now I'm looking at this Nier collab, I'm like, whoa, hold on. I was like, I friggin' love Nier from top to bottom, so we are going to be all over this. I have a couple of buddies who have played Stellar Blade and really like it. I know some people think it's mid, but look, I think it looks pretty interesting, and knowing the Nier collab is there, shot in the arm I desperately needed. Then we get, interestingly, some updates on PS Plus. The free games for October 1st are WWE 2K24, Doki Doki Literature Club, and Dead Space Remake. You already know how much I love my Dead Space Remake, so if you've been sleeping on that, now's your chance. Please play this absolutely incredible survival horror game. It's my personal favorite ever. Then we get some announcements of PlayStation Classics in Blood Omen and Dino Crisis. And I think that is a pretty big deal here. Many people have been begging Capcom to do something with Dino Crisis, and I understand that this isn't quite what they were asking for in a new Dino Crisis, but it's activity, it's movement, right? And that's something people have been hoping for as well. So we do get Dino Crisis on PS Classics, which likely means it has a platinum trophy, and that might excite a contingent of people. I have yet to play Dino Crisis, unfortunately, so this might be a good time for me to check it out. They also announced that The Last of Us Part 1 is entering the PS Plus catalog on September 26th, which, if you have not played the first Last of Us game, I know there's a lot of drama around The Last of Us in general, especially now with this remaster, if you will. But I will just say that when I played The Last of Us many times when it first came out in 2013, it's one of the best games ever. Play it if you missed out on it. Then after this, we got the PS5 Chroma collection announced. So if you're into hardware of that kind, there you go. That's there. I'm not crazy about controller collecting, and that even goes for the Xbox side of things, where they always have a new controller. We saw the PS5 Pro with enhanced games. My opinion remains unmoved on that. And so I'm ready to come in and completely dog on this show. But we do have one announcement that does lift up the show at least a peg, but it does justify the idea I had, which is these shows kind of don't need to exist, and that most of these announcements should just be spread out and demand too much time from the audience, whose time is precious and could be best spent elsewhere in seeking out this news. So with that ramble out of the way, the announcement is Ghost of Yotei releasing 2025. I absolutely adore Sucker Punch. I love the Infamous series. You already know how much I love Sly Cooper. And of course, Ghost of Tsushima to me ranks among some of the best ever Sucker Punch games. Like, it's right up there. It's one of the few companies where, even though I adore Sly Cooper, I love that they moved on from him because they continue to make incredible video games. And so Ghost of Tsushima was another one there where it just gently reinvented the checklist open world formula. And I cannot wait to see what they do with Ghost of Yotei. New protagonist. It seems like Jin's story is done. It looks like things are moving down the timeline a decent amount. When it comes to Ghost of Yotei, it looks like this is a revenge story. I'm very excited to see where they take things here. Of course, we know things like the visuals are going to be incredible. What are the open world activities? What's the story here? And I will say, Ghost of Tsushima felt like it was the perfect fit for the karma system that was in Infamous, and I am really hoping that they considered some of that feedback and have brought it into Ghost of Yotei, because I loved how Jin was kind of toying with this idea of like, should I be this honorable samurai, or do I have to be the ghost to take down the Mongol threat? And that kind of moral dilemma he goes into, and I think it could have been really well represented in the story. So they do have a similar storytelling element in Yotei. I do hope that they bring in that karma system from Infamous, because I think it would be a really great fit for this franchise. But we'll see. Nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, that was the state of play. So my overall thoughts: roller coaster ride. Absolutely a roller coaster ride. Some pretty exciting Matty level announcements, you know, new Shredder's Revenge DLC, some VR titles I guess I'm kind of interested in, Dynasty Warriors Origins, and of course the big one being Ghost of Yotei. But all in all, taking a look at the list here, being objective, removing myself from it, this isn't enough. This isn't enough to call, I think, a state of play personally, especially, you know, you can feel the desperation when you have controller announcements, PS Plus catalog updates. It just, to me, doesn't really fit in too well. So I just think that PlayStation needs to spread the wealth here, just continue to cover some ground, not go dark for as long. They don't need to jam everything into a state of play. Just imagine if they said, hey, we're doing one Ghost of Yotei state of play. The amount of excitement and anticipation that would drive for this event compared to what we got here, I think would be significantly higher. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, just my thoughts to cap things off. Looking forward to hearing yours down below, so fire away. Other than that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.